There's no doubt that the Xbox Gamepass is one of the best values in gaming right now. A simple glance at the underpowered Win600 spec sheet would suggest it's best served as a streaming device. Yet, with the vast number of titles in the Xbox Gamepass library, I'm pleased to report that a significant portion is playable natively on the Win600. In fact, the hardest thing when planning for this video was selecting which titles to preview. My list of games had over 40 entries on it, and those were just based on my own personal favorites or games that I've tried. So in today's video, I am excited to show gameplay footage of Xbox Gamepass games running natively on the Win600. I decided to start with what I'd imagine to be the easiest games to run and end with much more demanding games. In other words, we will start with 2D indies expected to run well, and then end with recent 3D releases that may be pushing the envelope of the Athlon Silver 3050E. And as always, all the settings, frame rates, and tools, if needed, to hit those targets will be detailed in the description down below. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, my name is Rob, and this is the Retro Tech Dad channel. First up, and by far the easiest game to run on the list, is the recently released beat-em-up TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I debated on the inclusion of this game for this specific video as I am planning a 2022 release video for the Win600. However, I really wanted to feature this game because it's such a blast and turning out to be one of my favorite beat-em-up games ever. Now, this game has seen some ports to Linux-based handhelds such as the newer RG552 and older 351. Therefore, it's no surprise that this game has no trouble running on the Win600.
Turn out the lights!
Lumines truly holds a special place in my heart. I've been a long-time fan of the series dating back to the original release at launch on the PSP. It was the game that convinced me the next generation of handheld gaming had arrived. It had excellent visuals, an awesome soundtrack, and gameplay that would keep you hooked for hours, and with a pick-up-and-play nature, it was a natural fit for a handheld device. Just like its predecessors, Enhanced Games' remastered version of Lumines on Game Pass is well suited for this device, not only looking great, but ideal for its D-pad dominant design and pick-up-and-play style. The next game needs no introduction, being an indie game darling released back in 2020 by Supergiant Games to massive success. I originally played this game first on the Nintendo Switch and enjoyed it immensely. As with Supergiant's other releases, the game features gorgeous graphics, an amazing soundtrack, fantastic voice acting, story, and gameplay that will just shred the time away and keep you hooked. I recently started to revisit this game on Xbox Gamepass prior to my Win600 arriving. For me, Being able to play on my PC and then continue playing in bed on the Win600 is the closest realization of an Xbox handheld. It's also another compelling reason as to why I love the service so much. This is another 2022 release being featured on my list and was a day one release on Game Pass. Pac-Man Museum Plus is a collection of 14 games with some very interesting entries such as the Pac-and-Roll Remix, Battle Royale, Pac-Man 256, and Championship Edition. If you are a big Pac-Man fan like I am, this is a great collection with lots of content and collectibles. It's another game perfect for Win600 with a pick up and play nature and pairs well with the Win's excellent sleep mode on Windows. Before I introduce the next game, I have to say how much I am glad that Game Pass is embracing so many of Japanese releases. Now, Katamari has been an absolute favorite series of mine, dating back to its surprise localization on PS2. At that point, I became a huge fan of the franchise and have enjoyed every subsequent release over the years. Katamari Reroll is no exception, serving as a HD remaster for current platforms. As always, it's so wonderfully Japanese with one of the catchiest soundtracks and just an overall hilarious premise. This is another Enhanced Games entry on my list, and I am a huge fan of this studio, from games like Rez Infinite to the current entry on my list, Tetris Effect. Now you might be wondering why Tetris Effect is so far down the list. Well, you might be surprised to find out that the game is quite demanding, but thankfully scales very well and is quite optimized. Regardless, this is just an absolute joy of a game from its gorgeous visuals and fantastic soundtrack. This to me is Tetris perfected, and yet another title that benefits from the portable nature of the Win600. Publisher Devolver Digital is no stranger to releasing great indie games. Death's Door by Acid Nerve was a pleasant surprise for me when I completed it earlier this year. I was already intrigued by the game's visuals and premise, but completely fell in love with it. If it weren't for Game Pass, I might have overlooked this gem. This is truly an outstanding game that deserves your attention, and I highly recommend giving this one a shot. Performance is also great on the Win600. The next entry on my list is another gem that I discovered because of Xbox Gamepass. Full disclosure, I have not yet completed this one, but have made some decent progress in it. Regardless, Canadian indie developer Finji has crafted a fantastic adventure reminiscent of The Legend of Zelda. For me, it was hard to resist its visual aesthetic and cute fox character. The game is quite graphically pleasing and runs well on the Win600. Don't overlook this one. I thought it would be fun to include a fighting game, and one that is exclusive to the Xbox brand, which means that there isn't a portable version available. Killer Instinct is from a developer that I have featured on here before, known as Double Helix Games. Unfortunately, they were acquired by Amazon, and the series has since been handled by Iron Galaxy. This one tends to get mixed opinions, but I find it fun even though I am terrible at fighting games. I've always enjoyed the Killer Instinct roster of characters. Visually, this game is really a treat and runs surprisingly well on the Win600. Finally, we've come to the last game on my list, and easily the most demanding of the Win600. Doom Eternal is built on the id Tech 7 engine, so it is a game that scales very well with full Vulkan support. I was curious to see how this would perform on the Win600 since this game does have a Nintendo Switch version, and will be featured in a future video comparing the Switch and the Win600 playing similar games. But for now, I will have to say this was a pleasant surprise for me. The game managed to stay locked for the most part at 30 frames per second and visually still looks quite good, especially on a smaller display. Additionally, I will comment that this is absolutely pushing the Win600 to its limits, and is one of the few games I've seen use a large amount of RAM available to the system, and consistently ran at the 2666 MHz speed. Still, I am very happy that this one does run and allows me to get some of those achievements while in bed. And with that, today's video has come to an end. Please comment down below and let me know what you think. I really enjoy interacting with the community and truly appreciate everyone's comments. If you'd like to see a part 2 or more games from Game Pass featured, just let me know down below. This is the Retro Tech Dad channel, and thank you so much for watching.